Hi, Steve Jones here with the Hardscape channel. I've got with me our good friend, voting contractor member of ICPI, Jay LaCharite from InterPave in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Jay,
Do. How are you?
It's been a few months since we've seen you.
It has. Last meeting?
Yeah. Glad you could make it down for the meetings. It's always important to have contractor input at these meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these I get a little frustrated when I hear non-contractors trying to influence what contractors should or shouldn't do without the background. And one of the reasons I've asked you to do an interview with the Hardscape channel is maybe to discuss some of those issues. What's important to you as a contractor? What can ICPI do? What can the industry do to make the difficult things in your business perhaps better?
Okay.
So the viewers here are really interested in hearing from experienced guys. Now, I remember when we spoke on the phone regarding some meetings last year that, we went over again what I had known and then since forgotten all about your history in British Columbia, as far as one of the founding companies of doing interlocking concrete pavement. Maybe you can share some of that with our viewers.
Well, we started, I actually started installing pavers back in 1977, and by 1980 I went into business with a fellow that I used to work for, and we're essentially the original guys in our market doing things. We weren't the very first, but we're still around, and an awful lot of the guys have fallen by the wayside in the meantime. It's a pretty dynamic business, I guess, in that. There's a lot of reasons for failure and moving on. One that concerns me is money, of course. It's
how to get paid?
How to get paid is always a tough thing. You've got all your money outstanding. Half the time you don't really know the people that you're working for. An awful lot of people deal with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 limited companies, and they have their projects out and they have a certain budget, and that job site is, when that budget runs dry, we're tail end Charlie, and
yeah, because you're the last one on the site.
We're the last one on the site.
We've lost a number of really excellent contractors during this last current recession because it's ongoing. Luckily, things for you are going a little better because of the petroleum money up there in British Columbia. Better than down here.
Not too much petroleum, but
natural resources.
Natural resource.
Okay,
basically,
better said.
Yeah, it's just a resource-based economy.
So when you talk about trying to keep your company alive and by getting paid, what are the issues that you face up there?
The biggest one is, like I said, we are at the end of the building cycle. We're the last guys in. The money, the budgets have been used up prior with problems. There's always problems on a job site, and there's time elements on a job site as well that get eaten up. And the next thing you know, you're in a push position, and you throw a lot of extra resources into getting a job done for a general contractor. It's very seldom you get that back. You may get the next job if you're cheap, but it's a business relationship. I mean, it's just tough. When a budget is gone, it's gone, and it's a cutthroat business. It's in the commercial market. It's always been a cutthroat business. And when times are good, everybody pays. It's not a problem. But when there are tough times in the economy, it is very difficult.
Yeah.
There's only so much money out there, and when a guy's losing his short, when he's lost his money, it's gone.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you get on these large projects and, they know they're running out of money, do you ever see them pull the segmental paving out and just go to asphalt and stuff?
Often, yeah. But they are limited to what they can do with that, because I'm sure it's the same down here. Once a fella has got a building permit, he pretty much, we're from the city, he pretty much has to stick to that building permit. It can be very difficult. Private property, they can do a little bit of fudging with it, but we lose a little bit of it. But typically that comes more sort of you'll do a bid, and then the next thing you know, before that,
the value engineering comes in.
Yeah.
Value engineering. What a horrible word.
Well, I do think sometimes, I am sympathetic sometimes towards their concerns. I'm not overly sympathetic, because I'm more sympathetic to my concerns. But the money is a big issue. It's always a big issue. It's most of the time if you'll go out and see a $20,000 job, are you going to go to court to collect that money?
That's painful.
You know, it's
And expensive.
It's well, you're going to spend $20,000 to collect $20,000. You're going to put a lot of your own time, your own effort into it, and is it worth putting that time and effort into it, or is it just cleaner just to?
Well, you know, I look at the things that that all contractors suffer when it comes time to collect their monies and stuff. Now you're mostly doing large work. Do you also do residential work at all?
We do a little bit of residential
bit.
work, yeah, but it's I like the commercial market. It's just for my liking, it's just a cleaner market. And one thing about that is you can't protect yourself. I think we go after the larger projects, so you're dealing with larger companies and a little bit more security that way.
And you also feel that when you're dealing with professionals like that it's you're more comfortable dealing with
much
people?
More,
Yeah.
much more. The residential market's very difficult. If you don't establish a good relationship with somebody, it can be a very painful experience.
Well, and that takes a lot of time. I mean, and do you have the time with a small project to actually invest that to get it up?
No, you don't. You know, people are buying something for their home. It's not like you're working on a commercial site where everything's drawn out for you. There's no thinking involved. There's no creativity involved. When you're dealing with a homeowner, you've got to guide them through, because the knowledge base that they have is not what you have. And so you've got to try to guide them through to show them what they have. All the brochures, the actual product never looks like the
Yeah, I
pictures in
think
the
that's
brochure.
one of the biggest disservices we could ever do to a project is, number one, show all the brochures to a customer. Number two, show them pictures of samples, or even hand them samples, because then they walk around after the project's done and say, that doesn't look the same.
Yes.
And again,
Yeah.
it can be a frustrating experience.
It can. Yeah.
I'll never forget one project I did quite some time ago when I was in the business, but there was one. We would use permanent markers when we're out compacting the pavers and stuff. The guy operating the machine would, as he walks by a paver that's chipped or cracked, he'd take the permanent marker and put a mark on it, make it easier for us to find and pull out. Well, when we left that day, you know, we left some of our stuff, not all of it, but some of it in the garage, and they found the permanent markers. So that evening, the homeowner must have marked 400 pavers because they thought it was not tile-like, that everything therefore must be a flaw.
Yeah.
And when we showed up the next day, I didn't know what to do. I mean, other than scream, I didn't know what to do other than now we had to remove these. And then you had to have a bit of a stern talking with the homeowner and say, don't do that again, please.
Yeah. But there are different expectation levels that you have to deal with. And I think that's probably the best, or the main reason that I enjoy working in the commercial sphere. Everybody understands what you're doing. Everybody understands what they're getting, and the homeowners don't.
Well, you've told me before that the awareness of the municipal people in your market is quite good based on your years of working with them. So their expectations are at a level that you can achieve.
Yeah.
And how do other markets do that? I've seen a lot of my contractor friends and customers spend a lot of time with local architects and engineers in different markets. But I also know there's quite a few of my customers that don't do any of that. So how do you go out and get that information out? We've been trying to figure out a way. We struggle here at ICPI to find a delivery method to get our industry standards information to them.
With the ICPI now and computers, it's very easy just to get them to go Google it. Just Google it. I mean, that's everybody's answer now. If it wasn't for that, realistically, I spend very little time selling. I bid projects. We've been around for quite a while, so we're on a lot of companies' bid lists, and the information comes in, and it's up to me to go and get the job from that point. I don't do a lot of educating. I don't have to in the commercial market. You're dealing with professional designers. You're dealing with professional builders, and most of the time, professional customers.
Let's step back a decade or two. That wasn't the case.
That was not well, for us, we were lucky. We were very lucky in the Vancouver area because it was actually the municipal people that were the push. We did a project called Gravel Island back in 1978 that paid my way through college. in its day was the biggest job in North America. It was 500,000 square feet.
That was huge back then.
That was, it went out in phases, and I laid the first phase, and I helped lay the second phase, and then third, fourth, fifth, sixth phases came on after that. Then my company actually, I'd been in business by then, and we actually got that project. But there has been good acceptance at the municipal level right from day one, which is surprising because there's an awful lot of areas in construction where they tend to be the last people on board. I know City of Vancouver were still using vitreous pipe for sewer lines until the last vitreous pipe plant went broke. Shut down. I mean, there is, bureaucracies have a culture, and there's very little change that happens in culture. But as the generations, I'm dealing now with kids now, whereas when I first started, I was a young kid on the block, and I'm dealing with all these old guys, and they were just shoving me aside because you're a kid. Well,
now we're the old guys?
We're the old guys. And actually, I'm, in a lot of respects, I'm pretty excited, at least at home, because we do have a big market. We are a major player in the amount of paint or the amount of hardscaping that goes on. It's just every year it's more. You get into more different areas. You get into more clients, more customers, more acceptance. We've got a pretty good track record around town now. It's interesting when you're dealing with people and they tell you, well, those paving stones are not going to stand up in that crossing. They're going to fail. Well, I can show them crossings I did 25 years ago now, and the asphalt's all broken up around side, and the crossing has failed to the same degree that the asphalt has failed. It's worn out.
And that kind of leads us to another discussion, is that expectations, even in municipal situations, are higher of our materials than they are of any other pavement materials.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems, it's unfair, but I think we've kind of set ourselves up for that, saying that we provide the permanent pavement,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But when you deal with them, I know that one of the municipalities I do an awful lot of their work, and I've been doing it since the early 80s. When you're dealing with those guys and you've got those crossings, all of a sudden they do start to show them the math. When's the last time we did that? We pick it up, we put it back down. What's your cost? And what's your cost if that's a fancy or decorative concrete? Ooh. You've got to get in, you've got to break it up, you've got to take it away, you've got to redo it, you've got to shut it down or put steel plates over top of it so that you can get back into it and over it. We're in, out, and gone before you know it with pavers. The repairs are very simple. I'm doing an awful lot of repairs now for another one of the municipalities in our region. I get a call probably, I don't know, every month. I'll pick up a $10,000 job or something like that.
A repair maintenance
A
deal?
repair maintenance type of thing. But these are quite often the projects I laid back in the early 80s. And there's, roots will come around and they'll pop it up. If you have a city sidewalk and the roots are punching up the sidewalk, you don't just re-level it.
No, you got to deal with the root barriers.
You have to rip it out, truck it away, and bring it in. And if you look at the costs on that, the costs are always cheaper just to repair the paver. The actual block lasts forever. We have a lot of acid rain in the Vancouver area. We get very much like LA. You get that inversion.
Yep.
And the smog doesn't go anywhere, and then the rain comes through.
It knocks it down onto the pavement?
On the pavement. You can follow the drip lines along your building. You can see a 30-year-old paver right on the inside of the drip line, and it looks great. And you've got the old style before the face mix paver, you've got an exposed aggregate paver.
For sure.
So a lot of interesting aspects to that. But I think we're winning the battle. I know in our market we're winning the battle. We don't have problems with frost that we do in other parts of the country, or North America, I should say. But we're able to give a product that certainly has stood the test of time in our market. We've got a pretty good track record now.
Well, that's good. I really look forward. It's always fun to talk with guys that are a success story, long-term success, and they're still excited and enthusiastic about what they do. Jay, I want to thank you so much for giving us a few moments of your time today. And this is Steve Jones, Hardscape Channel with Jay LaCharite. Forgive me.
Steve.
I know, I'll get there. It's going to take a few beers, you know that. We're signing off now. Thank you so much.